So quick introductions here. So I'm Chase Summers. I'm the Director of Customer Operations here at Dataedo. Alongside of me is our founder and CEO, Piotr Kononov. Let you say hello, Piotr.
Hello.
You'll get to hear a lot from Piotr here as we run through tips and tricks. So again, majority of you that I saw coming in are customers, but I'm sure we have some who are newer to Dataedo and newer to the tool. So Piotr will be running through tips and tricks to make the most of the use. We'll cover quick announcements here at the beginning, then go into tips and tricks, both in the desktop and web catalog. And then at the end, we will go over Q&A with feedback. So we'll get started here. So Piotr, feel free to run with it.
Okay, thanks, Chase. Okay, so before we get into tips and tricks, here's a quick announcement. In 2 or 3 weeks, we're releasing the long-awaited 10.4 that will have a couple of quite exciting new features. The first one would be reference data management, also called lookups. I'll present you some of those features I'll include tips around those features since it's it's not much time left. You'll be able to define lookups with reference data for columns, report catalog, where you'll be able to catalog your reports, and with Power BI connector, you can do it automatically. Then Azure Data Factory connector to document your ETL in Azure. Quite exciting new feature, automated column level lineage for views. So for every view, you will see the source tables and the column level lineage, both in tabular and in diagram form. For SQL Server first, and we'll be adding more sources in the future. And something new, which we haven't announced before, is testing of foreign keys. So for each new relationships that you define, there'll be a query run to test if it's correct. I'll show that today. I'll describe that today as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the desktop tips first. So first tip I have for you, right-click on things in desktop. Dataedo has a lot of Dataedo desktop has a lot of features, and they are hidden under right-click menu. You can see the number of options here. If you click on the object, same story, right? Also, a lot of features, same for columns. So basically, go ahead and click in various places. Maybe you can uncover something useful. Tip number 2, drag and drop in desktop. Similar story. We added a number of ways to link different things with drag and drop. For instance, you can drag and drop a term into the column, and you create a link like that. You can drag and drop modules and different kinds of anything that you can link. There's a big chance that you can drag and drop. Tip number 3, use tables view. Tables views, procedures, and so on. Any type of view, you can access it in clicking on the folder. You can see a list of those objects in the grid format rather than tree. There's a number of things you can do on this list that you cannot do from the tree view, and these are, for instance, selecting multiple elements and deleting them, or assigning them to a module by drag and drop, or with right click. So yeah, that's a very useful view. Not a lot of customers know about this, but yeah, always try to see what you can do from this view. Tip number 4, check field history. A while back, we've added something very useful. We are tracking history of edits in those fields: description fields, title fields, and custom fields. So right now, when you can click on any field and open this view history option, and you can see that I provided this description 2 days ago, and today I added a text, right? that gives you an auditing option capability, and also increases trust. So you can see who provided this description. Was it recent? Who was it? And so on. So that's very useful. And if we go in and add something small even and save it, that is visible in the history as well, right? So it's over here, right? Tip number 5, use column chooser. Let's go to the tables view. Over here, you have a number of very interesting information, like a summary of information on tables. But you can also, right-clicking on the header here, you can choose from additional columns. So you can add a type column. You can type when it was imported, or and there's a number of additional columns you might not be aware of. It's always good to check what's available. When you want to remove it, you can simply just drag it out of the table. Tip number 6, paste descriptions in bulk. Okay, let's say you'd like to populate the description field, or let's say a title field. You have those texts in Excel or something, in a clipboard, and you don't want to paste it one by one. You can have a multiple columns copied, and then you can paste it just simply using Control C and Control V. It asks you, would you like to paste those 16 cells? You say yes. So it's easy. This is just an example. You can copy anything from Excel or Notepad. Same story. If you'd like to, let's say, I don't know, let's copy this value and like to populate this column in bulk, I select, I choose maybe not this one. Yeah, let's go back to title. Actually, the same story. I populated with the same value. Very useful to work in the bulk copy option. Tip number 7, use import description feature. This is a little more advanced, and it works not just on one view, but on the entire database. This feature is quite old already, but you might not be aware of that. So when you right-click on the database here, there's an option import description. You can choose, would you like to import descriptions for tables or for columns? We are choosing columns. And I'd like to import title and description. So let me unselect that, and I go to this window. I can copy headers to see what kind of headers I need in my clipboard. I did that before, so these are the columns, and I have them populated. So I filled in the schema name, the table name, column name, and the descriptions I want to import. So this is what I'm importing. This is my definition of the data dictionary. So I copy it right now. I paste it. So you can see it's all correct. So those columns were found. I click next, and right now I can see on this window that this is old value, this is new value for description and title, and I can select which columns I would like to overwrite. If they are empty, then they will be checked automatically. Very useful if you'd like to copy your data dictionary descriptions in bulk from a external source. Tip number 8. Use tree view search. You probably know that there is a search accessible also from this icon and also Control and F. So let's find something. It's some objects called customer. And you might have seen this view, but there's also a different view that displays objects in their more natural organization, different format. You can drill into tables and even their columns, so you can find a column called customer ID. Tip number 9, use floating windows. This one actually is new. It will be released in the next release, so 10.4. You can now undock those windows. It's useful. You can do it for multiple windows. It's useful if you have multiple screens and you like to rearrange your view. It's good to know that there's this restore default view button. Very, very useful if you know it becomes too messy. So yeah. Okay, and this is the overview of desktop tips. Okay, so let's move on to the web tips and tricks. Okay, first tip. Not all of you are aware of that you can share your documentation in web. There are some pro users for which web is not available. Web is this web application, self-hosted, that gives you live access to your documentation. So in the past, we had the HTML export, which was static export, and right now there's also a live interface for the broader audience. So yeah, tip number 1: use Web Catalog to share your documentation. Tip number 2: select visible columns. Also in 10.4, we are adding for this tabular views, we are using the select columns, so you can choose, similar in desktop. That's a new feature. So similar, like here, you can choose to customize your view. Tip number 12: use open in web feature. That also is a new thing coming up in the next release, and it's super, super useful. I find it very useful personally. So you can, from desktop, you can open any object, and there's an open in web catalog button. When you click it, it will open that exact object in web, which makes it more seamless. Makes you can work with the web and desktop. It's easier. One thing you have to do is to configure web so it's aware, like repository is aware of what's the address, right? It's web itself doesn't know that, so it's like you have to make a small configuration and you're ready to go. Super, super useful. And that was it about the web. Okay, now I'd like to focus on few of the key features of Dataedo. So these were more generic tips, and right now I'd like to focus on those more specific features. So first one, data classification. You can edit or define your custom classification. So you might be aware of that we have classification functionality, and we've added a couple of those pre-built classifications like CCPA, GDPR, HIPAA, and so on. We created this new view a couple of releases ago that you can see how many fields are classified and so on. Right now, you can configure the classification. So it's built on a number of pre-built rules. So these are rules of column names, and you can modify the existing ones and add your own. So if you click Manage Rules, you can see all the rules and which rules apply to what classification. And yeah, you can edit that, right? There's a window. I know it can look a little complicated, but you spend a while with that, and it's not that difficult. So yeah, you can customize and you can build your own classifications. I think it's very useful right now. Okay, data profiling. I'm not sure you're using data profiling. Over here, I profiled some of the tables in my database. You can see number of rows here, and if I go into a specific table, I will see the analysis of distribution of values and the distribution of top values over here. Maybe an employee would be more interesting. Yeah, like over here. I have, if we go to web, I have the same thing in web. And yeah, let's go to columns. And to be able to save this information, you have to enable a switch in the repository. So by default, I can only run classification profiling and see values in desktop just for preview. If I'd like to save it so that other people can analyze it like that, preview that, understand the data, the actual data inside the columns, then I have to enable that. We have a quick instruction. There's just one table, and you have to change the value. The reason is that you can, someone could accidentally provide save some sensitive data in the repository. So I want to make sure that only you use it when you're aware of how to use it. Another tip regarding data profiling is to profile entire database at once. So in the previous releases, you had to click a specific table, right, and then click profile table, and you launched that for a specific table, like over here. You can now also select tables folder or views folder or the entire database and click this data profiling, and you will see a list of all of the objects in the database. And you can choose which one you like manually. You can choose columns and then launch it in bulk. So yeah, that's the tip number 15. Now let's go to data lineage. You might notice that we've added manual documentation of data lineage for on the object level. So over here I have documented manual. I created a documentation of ETL, something very basic. I created a manual ETL package, and I created two tasks, two steps. One loads customers, the other one loads employees from AdventureWorks to AdventureWorks data warehouse. Right now, you can also switch over here to provide the column view. So you can map specific columns. I already populated that, so let's delete that maybe for now. Let's select all that and delete. Right, so if I do that, I will be able to browse the lineage on the column level, both in desktop and in web. I'll show that in a second. And the next tip is to match columns automatically in an intelligent way. So let's repeat that, and I would like to show all the destination columns. I can do it manually by drag and drop, but there's also intelligent matching, and if I click that, it matches columns. As you can see, hire date is an exact match, birthday the same, but title over here is title and here's job title. So we looked at the similarity and tried to match those information. Then you review that and save, so that when we go to the web, we can actually, let's not open, and we can also see that over here. You can see lineage in desktop, and you should be able to see that on the right now. You can see it on the object level. If you click that, you'll be able to see that column level. Either way, we fixed those funny lines. Okay, so that's data lineage. By the way, regarding data lineage, we're doing a lot of automation. I mentioned we are adding automated lineage on column level lineage for the views. Initially for SQL Server, but we will be adding more of that. One of the directions we are developing our software is to build more automated lineage, and we have that already for DBT, ETL, and SSIS. Okay, another tip is to import metadata using interface tables. So let me switch to the Management Studio. So over here, you might notice that we have tables with import prefix. This import prefix are tables that you can use. I have a sample here. These tables you can use to upload your own metadata, which is tables, columns. Over here, I have columns, so you can see that I have a table name, object, table type, and then column name, data type, and so on. And now I can use that metadata to import as if that was a connection. So I go to new connection. I choose in the generic section, I choose interface tables, and I will see the databases that are actually from those tables. So I select the sample, and then I click connect, next, and it will import the metadata. Why is it important? Because we might not have the connector to your data source, and you know how to extract the metadata. You might have it in some kind of repository or a file, or you know how to write a custom query. So you can upload it into the tables and then launch it, and it would import just as if we had a connector. So this is a way of customizing and building your own connector. Okay, so these were the feature tips. Now I'd like to take the opportunity to show you new features that we've added in 10.4, which will be released in 2 weeks. A desktop I show you already has those features, so you can have a preview of that. So first tip I have for you, to save your favorite useful SQL queries. Let's go back to the Management Studio. I have a query here that returns silver bikes, right? And it's very important for me for some reason, and I would like to save that and allow other people to use it, understand it, find it, and build on top of that. So I can copy it. In 10.4, you can now right-click. Let's choose this database. Right-click, choose Add Object, then an SQL query. We want to paste document, so paste query. I paste it, and right now we'll be analyzing the query. Right, it takes a second. So we found columns. You can write descriptions for that. Let's call it silver bikes. I save it. So that now everyone working with the AdventureWorks database. Oh, actually, I have that already from the previous session. So they will be able to discover queries, read about it if you provide a description here, learn the columns, what they mean, what they represent, and also in the future versions, we'll be building Lineage automatically, so that you will see what tables views are used, and even to the column level, and also from the table level, you'll be able to see what views queries are based on that. What queries that are used in your organization, in your team, are based on those tables, which is good for impact analysis, right? So you'll know what you can break, if the table doesn't load, or if you like to do some changes. Okay, another thing is the testing foreign key relationships. I hope you know that Dataedo, one of the advantages of benefits of using Dataedo is that you can explain the relationships joins between tables. So over here I have a business entity ID, which references person table. So this is a foreign key. Over here I have a login ID, and if I'm a new user to this database, I have no idea how to take the username or user email, for instance, right? I don't know where to join it to. So the power of Dataedo comes that someone, if this foreign key is not defined in the database, you can define it in the repository, so for future reference. And you always could add a relationship. I don't know what table that is, but let's say it's person, right? I think so, right? But I'm not 100% sure. So I define this foreign key, and till now you could save it and just you had to be sure. In the new version, it's not available in this particular version. There will be a test button here, initially just for SQL Server. We do things for SQL Server first because that's the majority of our users. So you test that, and we run queries against both tables and to make sure that primary key column is actually unique and it's not null, and that there's a referential integrity. So you, at least for the for today, this foreign key is correct. The data allows you to join it in a safe way. Yeah, that would be very, very useful. We had a question from the previous session. Would that be allowed in bulk? Not in this release, but in the future, we would like to build more data quality functionalities and bulk testing of different things, and that would be probably in some of the future versions. Next one, import business glossary. That's a quick one. That's the same thing we had for importing descriptions. You will have for importing business glossary. So you'll be able to, well, import not just descriptions, but the terms. So you can import your business glossary from Excel. Document lookup values. So this is a functionality we call reference data management. Reference data is the type of data that defines categories. Let me show you by the example. So let's go to the employee table. Let's take gender, for instance. You can notice that there's gender can have two values, M and F, and there's a definition of that. This is a particularly simple example, so just two values. If there is more like country, currency, I might not be 100% sure what values are allowed in our database, how we translate those values. So what's the definition of the lookup? And it might differ from database to database, or maybe it's shared. So we build this new exciting functionality where you can define lookups and link them to columns. So let me show you how that works. So I click on the gender, right click, and I create, actually, I think I did that. Okay, I did that. I'll show you how to do it. So over here, I have a gender lookup and with two values. And if I go to the lookup, you will see that I have two values. F means female, M means male. I can provide more description. I can provide more custom fields. I can even see how many values are in specific columns. I can link multiple columns. Let me show you how that works. We'll have another webinar on that, but just yeah, let me use that opportunity to show you. So let's use this column. If I click create column, let's call it Marshall status. I don't know how to pronounce it, by the way. I select create lookup with current values. It will connect to the database I create. It will now it's extracting the unique values. I could do it for more than one column, and then it will take all of the it will take values for multiple columns. So I'm creating that, right? And you should see this over here. It doesn't have values because they are waiting for my review. So go to, and you can see that there are 0 values, but 2 for review. So I have to approve them, right? Because there might be something, the data doesn't have to be correct. So I approve that. I can provide the title. So that would be ISOM single, right? You can see how confusing that could be without this information, right? I save, and that's my definition of the lookup. I can right now I have just linked one column. I can link multiple columns from different databases. That's why it's so exciting and useful, because you can like gather different unique values from multiple databases and tables, gather them here, reject some values, and approve just the valid ones. Yeah, that's why it's super useful. That's how you can document your lookups. Okay, so that was that. And now let's have a look at the report. So one of the biggest feature we're shipping right now is a report catalog. So you can see here I have a connection to multiple connection actually to my Power BI, and I have imported reports in the Power BI, it's a workspace. So I have two workspaces, three actually. I've imported workspace. Yeah, let's have a look at the human resources report. You can see we've imported all the pages. We've imported visualizations, so like a line chart and fields of that line chart, so I can provide description for business users what specific elements represent. I can link business terms from business glossary to explain, so I can, like, for instance, I don't know, let's take retention rate. So I can have a business term called retention rate and link it to the reports where you can find it. So business users can discover key terms and then find the reports where they can actually observe that, not just columns. Might be too technical, but also reports. And also we are providing a lineage. Let me see if that works. I think it should be, on this level. So you can see over here that this report is using human resources dataset. So we're importing reports and datasets. Let's open that in web. It's a bit more visible. So first you can see that there is a preview of the report. It's loading, right? So I can, as a business user, I can preview and even open that in the Power BI. And in the data lineage tab, I can analyze the sources. So I can see the data set it's using and tables that are used by the data set. Right now, this part was imported automatically, but I have to define the sources of the data set. Some of them can be imported automatically. And we're still working on improving that. So in the future versions, more and more will be automatic, and there will be column level lineage for those reports. So yeah, for Power BI, you can document your environment, your reports, and we're also working on Tableau connector and in the future on other BI tools, Looker being one, and we'd be very happy to hear what software, what BI you are using in your teams. Tip number 24, document reports manually. So that was, that's assuming you're using Power BI, but you can also actually create a manual connection, this one, so create manual reporting. I've done it over here. So as you can see, I created like a manual documentation of some of my reports, right? So I simply click add report, and I'd like to design visualizations, provide the name, add columns, fields, pages, and so on. That takes a little effort, but you could document some key reports if you'd like them to be discovered easily by the business. So you can do that over here and document the lineage. I would advise to do that for key reports, which should be, your community, data community, or business community should be aware of. Okay, so that was the tips, the last section of the tips I had for you.
So a few bonus tips here. These are more associated with just the Dataedo team, who to reach out to, and the resources that you have that we encourage you to take advantage of, especially if you are already a license holder. You have access to a lot of resources that we provide that you can take advantage of. So as we go into this next slide, we'll get into the bonus tips. So number one is upgrade to the most recent version. As an active subscription holder, you can always upgrade, get all the features that Piotr's speaking of and things that we're adding. There are some things that aren't flagship features that may be fixes or smaller things that we add in each release. So that's worth being aware of, that upgrading and going to that most recent version does help out. So you can always do that on our website. And then the next, don't hesitate to contact us. So number one, all customers have access to Alex, who is your single real person contact for Dataedo. So you can go for any questions, and she'll make sure to delegate and bring in resources internally for whatever you need. So majority of you have been introduced to her, but that's alex@dataedo.com, and you can email. She'll make sure that you get the sales team, the support team, any technical resources you may need. And then for new customers who may run into issues with Dataedo, feel free to contact support@dataedo.com, and our support team is awesome at helping out and making sure you get what you need. So definitely take advantage of that. And then we are working, and we've invested in a lot of internal resources for metadata extraction support. So if there are sources that we do not connect to natively, or maybe you're worried because you can't get a specific BI, ETL database, get that into Dataedo, let us know, because we are offering help and custom resources for the metadata extraction. So they'll meet with you, they'll walk through what you need, and see if there's any way to get the information or the metadata that you need into Dataedo. So again, for new customers, reach out to alex@dataedo.com. New customers, Patrick, who majority of you have met if you are a new customer or a prospective customer, just exploring things out here. Patrick will make sure you get those resources as well. And then keep feeding us feedback. So we do have a support forum listed here, which you can get to through our website. But anything that you guys are seeing, we know that new databases, ETL tools, BI tools, there's constantly things developing in the market. So it's always good to hear from you all of what you're using, what you're testing out, to see what we may need to prioritize on the roadmap long term. And upgrade your plan. So again, we walked through a lot of the features today that involve the web catalog or involve the profiling, the lineage. So some of you may not have access to that. So reach out to us, and we're happy to make sure that you're able to explore the pricing options. And we can upgrade at a discount. For those of you who have worked with the tool for longer periods of time, it may be more of a larger jump to get to more of the up-to-date plans. And so just know that we're happy to discount those plans for legacy customers and make sure that it makes sense. For that, you can contact Jonathan at dataedo.com. He's our account manager, and we'll make sure that you have all the information you need to get going in that direction. And now we'll open it up for questions and feedback. So again, you can throw questions in the chat or the questions tab. We'll address those, and then any feedback. So things we may be missing, things you're curious about, things you would like to see in the product, feel free to throw that at us as well. Piotr, we do have a question sitting here from Nick saying, pulling all values from a lookup will end up being values in business glossary, maybe your relationship to build there. So pulling values from a lookup will end up being values in their business glossary. Sorry, I butchered that.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure I understand, but let me explain the relationship between lookups and the business glossary. So first, you can create. So we created a gender, right? So let's create a gender term, gender lookup, and now we can link the lookup wherever it was. Oh, so we can link that. So in the documentation, let's actually test that if that's available. If we open the term, the documentation should be so you should, yeah, we have a gender term there, assuming there's a definition, right? But there should be, did I save it or? Oh yeah, here's the lookup. So I can go to the lookup. So that's one relationship. Another one would be each specific value could be a term on its own. So like linking terms to specific values, female or male, right? Right. So don't know what female is. You'd like to learn the definition. We don't have that functionality yet. We're just thinking about it. So for now, there's no like physical link. You can, always create a term like that in the glossary. So yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Awesome. Yeah, Nick said thanks. So I think we're good to go there. Brittany said, are there other features that were not covered and will be another webinar to review the changes again?
Yes, so there will be a 10.4 webinar. I covered just the major ones. There are a number of changes, like for instance, web was redesigned slightly, right? We have this community forum here. So yes, there will be another webinar, and
Yeah, so we'll have, Brittany, you'll receive invitations for those as well, so you can keep up to date. And like I said earlier, if there's anything that you can't attend webinar-wise, still sign up. You'll get the recording there. I don't see any other questions popping in. Cool. As always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. You'll have your contacts, customers specifically with Alex, and then people who are exploring the tool more pre-purchase or want to know more, Patrick at Dataedo.com is going to be your go-to person. And in the meantime, thanks, Piotr. Appreciate you running us through things.
Thanks, Chase. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.